My family and I were still new to the Yellowstone experience. We had seen Old Faithful erupt that day, and we were wandering around one of the visitor centers when the forest rangers got really excited. Old Faithful Geyser was just one of the geysers in the Upper Geyser Basin. I kinda knew that, but I didn't understand how exciting the other geysers could be. I was about to find out. The forest rangers were saying that another geyser, Beehive Geyser, was about to erupt. When I asked them how they knew that, they said that Beehive Geyser had an indicator, a tiny geyser sitting just beside it that starts spitting about 10 minutes prior to the main event. I asked a really silly question. We just saw Old Faithful go off. How exciting can Beehive Geyser be? The forest ranger's eyes widened as she scoffed. She said, "Oh, you are in for a treat." I saw how far away it was, and I asked, "Do you think we'll make it?" The ranger answered, "Even if you're just closer to it, it's worth the effort." My little family and I made our way that direction at a young family's pace, and I would say that we were doing pretty well. But before we could get to Beehive Geyser, it went off. I had never seen anything like that in my life. It was like a rocket engine coming out of the ground. That really got my little family moving. The closer we got, the louder it roared. We made it to the observation deck, and even though we were across the river from it, we were definitely close enough to thoroughly appreciate it. Old Faithful is a very beautiful geyser. It is the most famous geyser at Yellowstone because it goes off most frequently, and it is gorgeous when it does. The water builds like a mountain until it reaches about 100 feet high. The entire eruption lasts for about a minute or two, and just like the way that it built up steam, it slowly shrinks away. We were at Beehive Geyser's observation deck for about 5 minutes when I shouted aloud to myself, "How long can this thing keep going?" The sheer energy of the water shooting into the air was shocking, but it just kept going and going like that. I don't know how long we watched it before it ran out of steam. As everybody on the observation deck got ready to leave, one guy shouted in dismay, "Oh no, I dropped my lens cover." I looked over the railing, and a few feet beyond arm's reach, there it was on the ground. I mean, if it had rolled away down the hill, maybe into the river, it might not have been so frustrating, but it was right there. "Does anyone have anything that might reach it?" the man asked. "I have an idea," I declared. "Let's get the two toughest guys here. They'll hold me by my ankles and lower me down, and I can grab it." The man missing his lens cap scoffed at me and looked to everyone else who was looking through their bags to see if there was anything that they had that might work. Suddenly, from behind me, I heard a tiny squeaky voice. It spoke as loudly as it could. "You can't do that! It's much too dangerous!" I turned around and I saw a little old lady behind me. Her eyes looked sternly at me through thick glasses. I immediately said, "Oh no, dear, I was just joking." "Oh," she said in response. And then a few moments later she added, "That's funny." I guessed that she must have imagined me dangling over the railing by my ankles, trying to grab the lens cap, because she lost it. She started giggling and she couldn't stop. It took a minute or two for a forest ranger to show up with a garbage grabber stick. He showed us all his retrieval skills. The man who dropped the cap was very grateful. The ranger said, "Don't worry about it. It happens all the time." The ranger even listed off some of the more unusual things that he had had to retrieve at Yellowstone. He wowed the crowd and then we all dispersed. Before we could leave, the little old lady looked up at me and started giggling again. She said, "Thank you for making my day, young man." I put my arm around her shoulders and I said, "Thank you for making my day." Her arm went around my waist and she gave me a squeeze. She walked away from the observation deck still giggling. And while Beehive Geyser was truly a wonder to behold, my favorite part of that moment was meeting that little old lady. She remains on the top of my list of most memorable experiences at Yellowstone.